Hello and welcome to the head teacher briefing for the new academic year for 25-26. I hope you all had a really nice summer and had a chance to have a well-deserved break. As usual, the contents of this briefing are going to be shared with you, and then myself and some of the team are going to be coming to your meetings to discuss anything in more detail that you would like to discuss. If you want us to attend the zone meetings, please contact Sue or Chloe, and they will arrange for us to be able to attend those as well. So, got quite a full agenda today with SEND updates, FAP updates, travel assistance, NEETs, etc. So I'm going to move straight into it. I wanted to start just by talking about some of the priorities that we have for this year. So obviously, you're aware that there's a lot of changes in the national landscape. Yesterday, on the 9th, actually, so 2 days ago, Ofsted announced their new inspection framework, and they will be starting to inspect from that framework in November. Be interested when I meet with you to hear your thoughts on how different that is, having now understood that there's a 5 judgment scope, so we'll see how varied that is from what they did before. We do also, as you know, expect the SEND reforms white paper to be published in October. Don't have any further real detail on that other than to say that what we've seen in the press around the changes to EHCPs don't seem to be coming through, certainly from my conversations with the DFE. They're not going to be removing EHCPs for mainstream schools. On those 2 points, Ofsted, we have secured Ofsted to come and join us for the Inclusion Conference. The Inclusion Conference is on the 6th of November. I know Emma's going to talk a bit more about that, but Ofsted are coming to talk about that inspection framework. And we do have SEND advisors coming to that conference as well. We also have the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill and all of the changes that we talked about in the last year around that. So changes in relation to elective home education, an increase in the duties for the virtual school. Obviously, there's implications for yourselves, which I know you're aware of, around breakfast clubs and uniforms, and changes for academies that in actual fact probably aren't huge changes because you are doing those things already. We have the social care reforms coming in, family first partnerships, and a much greater role for education within safeguarding and child protection. And the Inspectorate has announced the theme for the second round of JTIs, the targeted area inspections, and that's focusing on child sexual abuse within the family environment. We are expecting a JTI, we are preparing for a JTI, and that will mean that for yourselves, education, early years providers, inspectors will want to know how agencies are working with you to identify and respond to children who experience that abuse. And of course, with all of that going on, we also have local government reform. The deadline for submissions from Kent and Medway is November the 28th. Medway continue to favour a 4 unitary model across Kent and Medway. So in terms of our priorities for this academic year, we will continue that work around inclusive practice, inclusion of our young people in their local mainstream schools. We also would like to, working on those improvements in SEND. Our EHCP timeliness is now in line with national, and I would really like to thank you. We have gone from 26.4% of children with EHCPs in mainstream schools last January to 35% now in mainstream schools. We are aiming to get to 42%, but I do not underestimate the amount of work that has put on you, your staff, SENCOs, and the challenges that it is providing for your schools in taking those additional children. The work that Emma is going to lead on this term and year in terms of inclusion and support will work to help you cater for those young people. We also have a significant basic need and special school expansion programme. It's a total of 55 million that is going to Cabinet in a couple of weeks' time, and assuming Cabinet sign it off, it's a programme that's for the next 15 to 20 years, but really focusing on growing the capacity of our estate to make sure that we have enough provision for our children and young people. We have concluded the EHCP review, so members have been working with families to understand the reasons why children are electively home educated. We will be sharing the outcome of that review with you after it has been to ONS, and that's in 2 weeks' time. The outcomes will not be a surprise in terms of headlines. The main reason was mental health. The second reason was SEND, and the parents' view that those needs aren't catered for within the school system. We have done a review on early years. We have shared some of that out. We can share it again this time round. We are reviewing our early years provision with the increase in places that are needed, the support for early years provided. So there will be a early years partnership group, and they will be continuing to develop the work to support our early years providers. And then NEETs, and there is a section on NEETs in today's meeting, but just to say that's been identified for the Marmot Place focus area. So there's a lot of work to do around NEETs. Medway is a Marmot Place, so it is working on the Marmot principles, and I'm happy to share those with you when I come out and meet with you. And they're going to focus on NEETs, which just puts a bit more of a resource and a bit more of a broader agency focus on identifying that NEET issue, which continues to be a concern for us. So moving forward, I'm going to pass over to Joe, who's going to give a SEND update. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Celia, and hi, everyone. I will provide you with our regular updates, and we will start off with our cohort 8 update, which is our backlog project. You will all be familiar with these updates. So we started the project with 711 cases on the project. The team has finalized 419 EHCs since the beginning of the project. To date, we have completed all of the assessments. We also received all of the EP reports, and currently we have 219 plans still with the project teams. 193 of those have been written. They are in draft stages, and all we're waiting for is responses to consultations. We are currently writing 11 plans that have been left with officers who left the service recently, and 15 plans are being ready to be issued currently under quality assurance process. The project will conclude by the end of October with remaining plans issued, but that is dependent on, the timeliness and reception of all the outstanding consultations. In terms of cohort B, so our business as usual, what you will see is significant increases in numbers that we're receiving. So since January, we received 758 requests for assessments, which means in average 95 a month. We've issued 362 business as usual plans and currently have 396 cases in the assessment process. The numbers with backlog impacting our performance. So our cumulative 20-week compliance have dropped to 48%. And when we analyze the reasons for it, one of them is quality of advices, the number of decisions that get overturned for assessment, as well as delays in receiving consultation responses. I am hoping this will change when the backlog project concludes and we only deal with business as usual, but obviously something that we will monitor quite closely. In terms of service updates, there's just a few things that I would want to mention. Medway over the summer concluded their Make a Difference Awards, and we are pleased to share that the SEND service received highly commended recognition in the Innovation and Bright Idea category, and this acknowledgement reflects the team's dedication to creative and impactful service delivery. We will, of course, continue to put efforts into standards, raising standards and making sure that we support everybody appropriately. In terms of our staffing, during the summer, Emily Komiski has left the service, but we're pleased to announce that Victoria Simpsons is stepping up as a team manager for the pre-14 team. There have also been some changes amongst agency staff, and we have updated our structure chart, including contact details, and we'll be circulating this to schools shortly. Promised caseloads reallocations. I spoke to many of you around moving towards allocating officers to schools. So these are being finalized as we speak. And we will be sending out information to all of the schools to let you know who your allocated officers are. These officers will then reach out to you to arrange visits and plan annual review activities for the academic year, which we're hoping will make sure that the process is more efficient and not as time consuming as it has been. Where possible, officers will be attending annual reviews in person, and they will also send out introductory emails to all the families that they will be supporting. Recruitment, we remain committed to recruiting permanent staff to strengthen the service. And while this is taking longer than we would have wanted, the priority is to ensure that when we appoint the right individuals to deliver high quality of support. EHC NA referrals. The service continues to receive an average of 30 to 35 referrals a week. And whilst the team is working hard to manage the demand, the quality of referrals remains a concern, which limits our ability to make appropriate decisions at the assessment stage. So this actually has contributed to an increase in mediations and overturn of decisions to assess. We will need to address it, and to do so, we will be engaging with the SENCO Forum and schools to improve the understanding of information that's required for multi-agency panels to make better decisions the first time. You will be well familiar with phase transfers, and the process is well underway to meet the deadlines. Communications have been issued to schools and parents outlining the process and key steps to ensure families are informed and well prepared. We are also planning information sessions with Medway Parent Care Forum to provide further support and address any queries that might arise as we move on with the process. In Vision 360 EHC quality audits, many of our school colleagues, SENCOs, have been involved in these, and we're planning next round of these audits to commence shortly. And we would like to invite interested SENCOs to participate in this activity to help us drive improvements in the quality of our plans. And lastly, staff training. Many of you would hear me say that we will be launching and carrying out comprehensive training program for officers within the SEND and wider services. And to date, we've done training covering tribunals and mediation processes, educational psychology roles and responsibilities, and health-related training. Upcoming sessions will include attendance expectations for pupils with EHCs at independent settings, preparation for adulthood, and understanding RRR provision and referral pathways. Additionally, we're planning targeted training around EHCs to focus on sections of the EHC plans, appropriately identifying SEND needs, developing high quality outcomes, and producing robust advice in collaboration with our health and social care colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you, Jo. And just as an update around our alternative provision activities that we've been doing over the summer. So hopefully you've all have noticed that Headway came out this week. It does contain an update on our suspensions and exclusions paperwork. There is a new form for MX1B based on your feedback. And also there's an update on who the inclusion team is and who to go for any inquiries or advice that you may need. As discussions that we had in FAP at the end of last academic year, there is a new form now for any applications for single role in our alternative provision. So that is the Rowans or the Will Adams provision. There is a new form called 1X1C, and that will be sent to the our kind of generic inbox, which is the exclusions@medway.gov.uk. It'll be attached alongside this presentation. And we've also updated the new health needs policy, which is those children who cannot access school for mental health or medical purposes, and this will be circulated to you shortly. The team are also running a number of webinars based on feedback and advice being asked for, and these are running over the next couple of weeks. There is a webinar around direction, offsite and managed moves, so guidance about how they should run and the differences between the two processes. We have a webinar on the permanent exclusion process from start to finish. And we have one on section 19, which is the medical and mental health referrals that we're receiving. To book, it's all through our common email around exclusions. Please title your email webinar because this helps us make sure that we can prioritise your request. In terms of ongoing contracted support, we have made some changes to our contracts based on service reviews, and these have signed off by our local authority in the procurement process. So previously we had a contract with Fortis which covered secondary and primary. This now will only be focusing on primary schools. So Fortis will be coming out to primaries and discussing their targeted support that will be available to you. The secondary school provision will be covered by the Alternative Learning Trust expansion of their coaching programme, which was available previously. This will now include not only the coaching and support for schools, but include outreach, direct support for pupils as well. They will be coming around as well with further information around that. We will be continuing with the Rivermead reintegration service for those that are struggling with those mental health or medical concerns. They will be directed in the usual way. There's a referral form and they will be ready to support you in next steps for those pupils. As Celia mentioned at the very beginning, we will be hosting our second inclusion conference. This will be on the 6th of November of this year. Please save the date in your diaries. There'll be two kind of key lead themes. As Celia mentioned, the Ofsted will be attending to discuss the new inspection framework and the implications around that. We are also very welcoming a courageous conversation within that. So through ESLIP, which is the South East Sector-led improvement programme, they are going to be coming and delivering a courageous conversation with us. Now, we want to ensure that we get the right topics within that conversation. So on this presentation, there is a QR code or there's a link to a survey. Please, could you have a look on there and prioritise what topics and what conversation you would like to have here. There's an opportunity as well for you to rank the ones that we may have suggested, but also there's a blank text box for you to express or detail, outline any particular areas that you would like to do. We'd like to ensure that we get the right conversations discussed there. We'll be sending out full booking details to you shortly through all of the networks and via our usual channels. And just as a last kind of awareness around the graduated support whole school funding, that we had applications for the end of last academic year. We received 38 schools and trust applications for this pot that we had available. 12 schools have been successful in receiving funding, and there's a full list here. Further details is in Headway, and we'll be meeting with these schools over the next couple of weeks to follow and track and to share the progress they were. So congratulations to these schools, and we really look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Emma. So I'll take a moment just to take you through the changes to the Education Travel Assistance Policy and the Post-16 Transport Policy Statement, which we have been consulting on. We undertook a public consultation through the months of May and June this year, and we have gone through the governance process, and Cabinet has now approved the changes in both policies. We consider doing this to ensure that we improve the clarity in our policies and improved customer understanding and experience, and ensuring that the families and stakeholders that engage with our policies are able to understand and extract the information that they need most efficiently. So in regards to the policies, the effective dates for these policies, the education and travel assistance policy for statutory age pupils ages 5 to 16, that comes into effect from this September. The post-16 transport policy statement will be effective from the 1st of September 2026. So the policies are now updated to align more closely with the statutory guidance, and we've done this following stakeholder feedback. So one of the key changes to the education travel assistance policy is that we have separated the policies to now include a separate policy for mainstream travel assistance and SEND travel assistance. This allows the eligibility criteria to be clearer, with examples of the evidence required, particularly for those who are applying under the SEND policy, and this should assist families and mean that there are less queries regarding the eligibility criteria. Also, the documents are now easier to navigate with linked documents, and each document makes reference to the other, so parents can quickly maneuver and navigate between each document. We've also improved the accessibility within the documents and reorganized the structure so that now there is a clear contents page at the beginning where families now can go through, and the reorganized structure means once you start at the beginning, you're able to follow through the process of first applying, looking at the eligibility criteria and how decisions are made, all the way through to the appeals process if necessary. So in regards to SEND travel assistance, one of the things that we sought to clarify was that SEND travel assistance will be provided to the nearest suitable school. So in situations where there are contentions or there are different views between parents or carers and the local authority, there'll be no entitlement if the school chosen is chosen under parental preference, where the local authority deems that there is a nearer suitable school available that could meet the child's needs. We'll be working with our SEND colleagues who will be including disclaimers in EHCPs and Section I of the EHCPs, which transport colleagues will then work to, and travel assistance will only be provided where it's deemed an efficient use of resources. So if you refer to Section 4 of the travel assistance policy, this will be clarified in further detail. Another point of clarity was regarding the provision of travel assistance. So travel assistance will only be provided to eligible children at the start and the end of the normal school day. So this removes the routine funding for part-time and transition timetables. We will continue to support families or children who are on EOTAS packages, who are our most vulnerable children, but ordinarily and routinely those other children who are on short-term transition part-time timetables, we will not be supporting those, which is in line with the statutory guidance. This means that schools may need to make other suitable arrangements for these children to accommodate any short-term arrangements that they might make for these children and young people. We will, however, consider exceptional cases which the guidance requires us to do. For example, children with medical needs who are unable to attend for the whole school day, we will consider these requests, but each case will be considered on a case-by-case basis. Another area of thought or change in the post-16 policy statement is in relation to the parent contribution. So the contribution levels will remain unchanged through this academic year and the next for both the full contribution and low-income families. But where we have had many instances of non-payment from parents for the post-16 transport, we will now be introducing from the next academic year penalties for non-payment. So as outlined here, there's an expectation that there'll be at least a third of a payment made within term 1 and 2. And if there isn't that level of payment made, we will then explore this, and it's possible then that transport will be withdrawn from the January in the academic year, and then on throughout the year to term 4 if there is not at least 2/3 of the contribution paid. then transport will be withdrawn from term 5 of the academic year. If there is no payment in the first year, then there will be no travel assistance supported in the second year if that is requested or applied for by the family. To support in this, we'll ensure that there is timely invoicing to families and that there are payment plans, which have always been the case and will continue to be the case for families to make payments throughout the year. I'm hoping that this will be a very supportive tool for families to pay this in increments throughout the year. One of the pieces of work that the team will be doing through the remainder of this year to ensure that we're ready for this change next year is to consider how we look at families who are vulnerable and need that financial assistance to ensure that we are not arbitrarily affecting any children who definitely need to be attending and for whatever reason their families are unable to support with the contribution level. So we will be ensuring that we put a process in place, a very robust process in place to ensure that we can evaluate this effectively. And the final change to apprise you of is to the appeals process. So from November, the appeals independent panel will move from the councillor-led panel to a senior officer panel. So this panel will include colleagues from across the directorate, SND colleagues, and also from educational psychology, as well as colleagues in social care who will support with the discharging of the duty in the stage 2 of the appeals process to consider any transport appeals. Councillors will still be able to represent constituents at appeals to support them in making their case. We believe that this multidisciplinary approach ensures that there'll be balanced decision making, and by moving towards a senior officer panel, we'll be able to make quicker decisions by convening panels much more frequently. The final point, which is really important, is that this brings us closer with the statutory guidance, as this aligns perfectly with what the guidance says that we will be doing. So thank you.
Thank you, Adrian. So I'm just a very quick update from me on the finance team. So Neil Stollery, who has been leading our finance team, has left Medway to another position. So just to give you the finance contacts, we are recruiting to replace Neil's post, but that we haven't been successful in recruiting at the moment. So for any SEND or AP or early years finance, not including transport, it's Mitsuki. Her email is on the screen there. For all other areas, in terms of including SEND transport, but all other areas, it's Maria Clark, and her email is there. And Mariah Beanie remains the business partner for the division, so within the central finance team. So Mariah, you all know pretty well. So if you're not getting the response or you're stuck, please contact Mariah or come to me or Joe or Paul, and we will pick that up. As soon as we have replaced Neil, we will let you know who that is and the details of that post holder. Just to give you an update on NEETs and post 16 as well. You note I'm doing the update. Tanya, unfortunately, is not well and she's off, and she's likely to be off for some time. So obviously we wish her all her best. Her team are working really hard to cover the position and the work, particularly at this time of year when it's the busiest time of year. The NEET and September guarantee data on your screen is from last year. So by the end of July, we had 5.8% of the cohort that were NEETs. It puts us back down into the 4th quintile. So the year before, we'd got up into the 1st quintile compared to nationally. But as you're aware, we had a significantly higher number of NEETs last year. And even though nationally the number went up, our growth was greater. So it put us down into the 4th quintile. Kent Choices, so you'll be aware of the work that's going on to embed Kent Choices. That's all on track. Guidance is going out. I know that secondary schools have been sent the login details for Year 11s, we will also be sending those out directly to parents and young people with information on how they access it. The guidance includes just reinforcing those messages about not waiting till results day to apply for courses, need to apply in the autumn, having backup plans, because we found some of those issues even this year coming through. So, you know, it is early in the term, so the numbers of NEETs obviously is still very, very high because we just haven't got all the data in yet. Takes us to about the end of October, mid-November before we really understand the picture. But we have a similar number in terms of the referrals coming through to last year, so quite high. We have lots of young people on waiting lists for Mid-Kent College, and that's because they didn't apply early enough. Mid-Kent College's applications are around October, November. You can keep applying up until May, but they're October, November. So there are a number of young people who do have the qualifications to access a level 3 sixth form that are on waiting lists for Mid-Kent College. A number of you have already shared with us where you've got vacancies in your sixth form. The IAG team are working, they've got a couple of other offers, and in speaking to the IAG team, they have told me that a number of you have contacted them, said they've got spaces, you are referring young people through, so thank you for that. We will keep you updated on this agenda. Just a reminder there of the referral email. So if you're referring a young person for individual support, it's IAG@Medway. Anything else, whether it's about you're offering to put a new course on, or you've got vacancies on courses, it's the post-16 inquiries email for that. So last but very much not least, I'll hand over to Sarah for the virtual school.
Thank you, Celia, and thank you, everyone. So just a general overview and update from the virtual school in this opportunity. Thank you. There will be specifics continuous professional development sessions and briefings as usual, but these are just the 5 areas I want to cover in this aspect. Celia's already touched on the Children's Wellbeing and Schools Bill, and part of the work that we've been doing over the last few months as virtual school is looking at our staffing structure and our capacity. And what I briefly share with you now is just the current position where we are. We have been recruiting. I think the picture is on the next slide, Celia. Thank you. We've been recruiting staff, some for maternity cover, and now some vacancies for some new substantive roles, because Medway has taken the stance that actually the Children's Bill is there, and we are looking to make some substantive changes and developments to the work of the school, which covers children in care, children with a social worker, previously looked after children, special guardianship orders and kinship. So we've got some contacts list there, and already you will have received messages from the team welcoming the service, really, I guess, and wanting to link in with your designated teachers who, again, when we look at the PEPs for the summer term, which is on the next slide. Thank you. Sorry, Celia. We had a 98% return, and I'd say thank you for that, for the work the teams have been working together to make sure that children in care have a PEP. But the drive doesn't stop there, because we are all wanting our children in care to have a high quality and relevant PEP that is used effectively to drive those outcomes for our children in care, because we know that they do not achieve as well as they need to. So we've managed at the start of the autumn term, all of the documentation should be with your designated teachers ready for the autumn PEP. Typically in the meeting, the only aspect that's covered in the meeting is the record of discussion, which enables the designated teacher to sign off the document and return it at that point. But we do ask that if it's not possible there, to send it back within 3 to 5 working days after that. All PEPs should be with us by the 17th of October, and our focus absolutely is the quality and impact of those PEPs for this year. We do have designated teachers bespoke training for anybody new to role. We're aware that there may have been some staff changes over the summer. This information will also be resent to schools. There is a statutory requirement for settings to have a designated teacher who must be a qualified teacher working at the school or within the multi-academy trust. Can be a head teacher or acting head teacher, but that is there. And we as Virtual School are required to hold an up-to-date list. So again, at the end of last term and at the beginning of this term, we'll be sending out this term the link for you to give us those details. So we thank you in advance for your support there. Just really to close then on pupil premium funding, which is accessed through the PEP. You'll be aware, because this is published information, that per looked after child that's in of statutory school age, there's an allocation of 2,630. It's not a personal allowance, and I know schools are really clear on understanding that, and we do take a proportion of that funding for our staffing and the systems that we use to register and monitor children's attendance. But pupil premium is available for children in care, but it must be linked to the smart targets that are recorded on the PEP, and we can't consider that application unless we receive the PEP. So the earlier the PEP is in with us, we can receive those requests for funding and get that out to you as soon as possible. For those of you that have been receiving children into Year R or Year 7, it might skew your numbers, increase them, and you might want to consider project funding. So please do consider, if you've got 3 or 4 children in Care to Medway in your setting, whether a project funding approach is perhaps more useful to you, and contact your allocated worker within that. The final bullet on this slide is really about adopted children. Parents, I think, sometimes assume that schools just know everything, and we have found that sometimes when children progress from primary to secondary, the parents haven't always really made it clear that their child is adopted, and therefore the school isn't aware and can't click that button on the census. So really just a reminder with your communications with parents to look out for those children that are adopted. We look forward to working with you this year, and if there are any questions, please don't ever hesitate to contact me. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Apologies. Just on the last slide here, is some information about free parenting courses. Now, obviously, we've sent this out through a number of channels, but it's helpful for you to have. Parents can refer themselves. They're absolutely free. They're for a range of age ranges. So we will send this leaflet out with the video as well if you want to circulate it, print it and circulate it to your parents, or email it to your parents. Please do so. It's a universal offer. It's open to everybody, and it's free of charge. So that's the end of our presentation. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to working with you over the coming year.